Hi everyone, I'm Rob Hawkes.
I'm Chris Blackburn.
And as you know, we run Training Tuesdays every week, 4:30. At the moment though, with the coronavirus pandemic hitting the country and the world, we're going to be running Training Tuesdays remotely. Isn't that right, Chris?
That's correct. So everybody stay safe. We will still be ensuring that the training happens on a weekly basis, but we will be working remotely through that process too.
Excellent. Thank you.
We are live. Well, we're not live, but
we are live.
We're about to go live. Yeah. All right. 4:30 on. This is just on the Zoom. Facebook will load in a second. But I was worried you weren't going to join me, Chris. I didn't know what I was going to do.
I was flipping a coin, mate. I didn't know whether to or not, but I decided to anyway.
You did. You decided to do it. All good, mate. Well, welcome everybody who is watching on Facebook. And welcome everybody in Zoom. So how you doing, Chris? How was your, did you do anything for Anzac?
We didn't. I was well behaved. What did we do? Just standard beach walks. I mean, it's still nice to be able to get out and go to the beach. Got up for the service, of course, and yeah, just had a nice relaxing weekend. How about yourself?
Yeah, we did we went to the end of the driveway on the Saturday, got everyone up early. My daughter was a little bit confused, but yeah, we held candles and we played the live stream through. So yeah, it was it was good. It was a really nice, yeah, it was very moving. It was my first one that we'd ever got up for. So did anyone else in the chat, if you guys did anyone else sort of get up and do the Anzac thing? That'd be cool to know what people did. So what are we, Chris, what are we doing? What are we doing today?
So today we're actually going to complete our 4-week process that me and Rob have been covering for some of the people that have been here every single week as normal. Thank you. We've been covering a 4-step process to handle objections. So today is going to be the last part of the 4-step process. So we're actually going to be focusing on how we actually overcome the objection. So we've gone through the 3 steps that Rob will explain in a moment, but today we're going to be covering, once we've gone through the 3 steps, how to actually overcome the objection to then start to move forward with the customer.
Let's get interactive and see whether anyone's been paying attention for the last few weeks.
Could be setting us up to fail here, Rob.
I am absolutely wanting to set us up to fail. Yeah. So we have a 4-step process to overcoming objections. First of all, who knows the acronym? So whether that be on Facebook or whether it be on yeah, whatever really, just pop us on there and tell me what is the 4 steps? What's the 4-step process?
Jim Roddy went for framing the conversation. It's a very good 4-step process though, Jim, but unfortunately that's not the objection handling one.
Not the one that we're after. What's the 4th? No, we've got the A not. I have set us up for a massive failure, so I guess maybe I'll put everyone out of their misery. So
maybe we'll do a bit of a recap then, Rob, shall we?
We shall indeed. That was exactly what I wanted. So ARIO, ARIO. Which is our 4-step process, ARIO. For the last 3 weeks, we've been covering appreciate, relate, isolate, and then today we'll be overcoming those objections. So I'll say those 4 again. So appreciate, relate, isolate, and then overcome. So we've essentially spoken about appreciating, really being able to empathize with the appreciate and listen and show that you're listening, relate through 1st and 3rd party stories, and then isolating the objection. So really kind of sifting through that smoke screen so that you can get to the real reason. We know that objections and stores are never the real reason. They're the reason that sounds good. So this 4-step process that we've been covering over the last few weeks is a way of being able to understand the true objection, which we believe would be based around what we call the 300% rule of value. So building value in yourself, the product and the company. So anything you want to add on that in terms of a bit of a recap from what we did? Obviously, we want to get this nice and interactive. The same on Facebook, guys. So if you are on Facebook and you want to, you know, drop in a hey Dylan, thanks for joining on Facebook. If you want to pop a message in the chat or something like that, please feel free to do so. But Chris, do you want to sort of add your spin on what we've done over the last few weeks?
Yeah, certainly. So I think if anybody's in, or whoever's inside the academy, have a jump in there. The training Tuesdays that me and Rob do are fully recorded, so you can jump back in there and re-watch any of the sessions as we possibly like. But for me, I think looking at the 4-step process, that without being trained through ISR, I was kind of following prior to understanding the psychology behind that, but understanding the power of appreciation was one of the biggest takeaways I think that we've covered through this process, Rob, and really just repeating back to the client. So if people are taking notes, like when people give an objection around price, or I need to speak with my partner, or can you call me back in 2 months? The best process for that is to actually repeat that back verbatim to the customer. So call you back in 2 months, not a problem. Then we'd go into relating that, as Rob said, through first and third party stories, and make the customer feel like they're not alone. You know, like I've spoke with hundreds, if not thousands of people over the years that I've been doing this that have felt exactly the same as you. So you're not on your own. I respect what you're saying there. I don't, again, when we're relating, we don't actually agree to the objection, where if you say, yeah, I completely agree with you, it's way too expensive, because then it's going to be very difficult to actually overcome that. So if we're relating, then we sort of understand, or I get where you're coming from, them sort of language patterns, you know, and then really explaining other customers that have been in the same shoes of them to make the customer not feel like they're alone. Then what we'd look to do is isolate that objection. So language patterns such as, so apart from speaking with the partner, are you suggesting that everything else that we've discussed so far, you're pretty happy with?
Yeah.
Okay. And then what we're going to do today is obviously go through how to overcome the objection and actual specific language patterns that's going to assist us to move forward with the customer.
And those language patterns will obviously vary dependent on your you know, well, your service and whatnot. But we've got excuse me, we've got some kind of you know, generic, I would say, or maybe not generic, it's not the right word, language patterns that are applicable to any business. Like when we're isolating, we like to use the words, you know, if there's anything else holding you back, or what's holding you back. Are you suggesting that you're comfortable, you know, aside from X, Y, and Z? Do you like what you've seen so far? So there are many ways that you can incorporate the language that we use to be able to, you know, to kind of make it relevant to your industry. So I know we've got people in here. We've got Chris Bright. Hey, Chris from Gulf Western. Ian Andrews, Print DNA. Yeah, we've got Jim, business broker. Mike from 3MP. We've got medical sales. So obviously, a lot of these industries that people are representing here today, the objections still really come down to one thing, which is not enough value. And Chris, we spoke about PMC or MCP.
MCP.
So, building value in those 3 areas. So how would, if you're not sure of what they're not fully sold on, how would you use that isolation, or how would you overcome, you know, what techniques would you use to kind of find out of those 3, what's really holding them back? What would you give advice to the people that are watching today?
Yeah, so anybody that doesn't understand it, because we're very much around acronyms, so if you don't understand what MCP stands for, again, if we're taking notes, the M stands for myself. So the first thing you have to sell is yourself. People buy people. We say this week in, week out, but it is very true. If you like somebody, you'll listen to them, but until you'll trust them is exactly when you'll do business. So building more value in yourself is the first process of the M. The C stands for company. So making sure that we're lending more value to the company, the organization, the vision, the mission, the values, everything that you're looking to achieve as a company. And then the last thing is the actual product and service that the customer is investing in. I know it sounds crazy, the last thing people buy is a product, but not to alienate a particular industry, I can't tell you the amount of retail companies that I've been into before where I'm sold on the product, I'm sold on the company because I'm in the store, but I still walk out empty-handed. I don't know, pop a Y in the chat if you've ever been in that position before, when you know you're going to purchase something and you still walk out of wherever you've been empty-handed because you may not have connected with the individual.
So they've actually put you off.
Correct. And it happens a lot. So just to answer Rob's question there, if I was ever looking to isolate a particular objection, I'd isolate that into one of the three. So if somebody can't afford the product, I'm still not going to take that as gospel, because there may be more value. Yes, I need to build in the product, but he may not believe what I'm saying as the salesperson. You know, we always say it as well, you know, we're innocent until, you know, proven guilty, essentially. So we need to make sure that if we're going to isolate a particular objection, we're putting the question into one of the three brackets, if that kind of makes sense. So if we're looking at building more value in the company, so you could say, based on everything we've discussed, that's fine. Apart from speaking with the partner as a respect, if you knew my better half, I'd understand where you're coming from, absolutely. But just to get an idea of the conversation we've had today, and I guess the business you've really been looking at of ISR training, based on the companies that we've discussed, that we've supported over the years, the backing of the investors, the reviews that we've got online as an organization, just so I guess I can get some personal feedback today. Is that the kind of organization that you'd wish to sort of connect with moving forward? Or is there something else you may be looking for in the business?
So what you're doing there in your kind of like summary is you're giving value about who ISR are, essentially.
Mm-hmm. And then we can get an understanding, you know, if it is the company that we're focusing on, apart from, you know, the price of the product or whatever the isolation is. Just before we jumped on the phone today as well, can I ask, what kind of research have you already done about ISR training? Oh, apart from putting in my details, this was the first time I came across you. Oh, okay, perfect. I know now I need to build more value in the company, because they don't know who we are, they don't know the background, so there's no point. Yeah, I completely, you know, selling the favorite feature of what I believe this company can do, because the customer's unaware. So I don't know if that's their favorite feature. So I need to isolate into one of the three and then build more value through features, benefits, and what we call tie downs to get the customer to affirm that that feature and benefit that you've just explained is the kind of company that they'd like to sort of surround themselves with.
And listen out as well, as Chris kind of highlighted there, about their response. Because if you say, and is that the kind of company that you could see yourself working with, and they go, yeah, then maybe it's the company that they're not sold on. Mm-hmm. You know, we can use a lot of advancing techniques in this as well. We did the tools of influence not too long ago, and we spoke about taking people from a present state to a future state. It's also a very good way to overcome, to at least see as well whether that is a real objection. So you know, suggesting to somebody, Chris, you said last week about hypotheticals. So actually saying, okay, well, hypothetically speaking, if we were to fast forward 6 months and you'd seen massive amount of results from this training, do you believe that it would be the right thing for you if you'd seen results? Or you could talk about a time machine. You know, like, we haven't got the luxury of a time machine, but if we did and you'd seen results, you'd do it, wouldn't you? Or you could either, that's called a leading question. So you could even just say, would you do it if you'd seen those results? And again, you'll gauge where people are at with that. They might go, yeah, I guess so. And then you could continue on that theme of, and what about myself? Knowing that having worked with you for the past 6 months, or, you know, in the future 6 months, you'd seen results. Do you think that I would be the kind of person that, you know, you could see yourself working with? And they go, oh, absolutely. Okay, so you could really start to figure out through advancing and using that language of fast forwarding 6 months to see which of the three they're not sold with. Because again, if they're uncertain and you're basically saying 6 months time, we get you X, Y, and Z, you know, and you're happy, would you do it? And they're still saying no. Well, then I'd be like, okay, where's the disconnection here? What is it that they're not sold on? And it could be, like we spoke about, anything. It could be confidence in themselves. It could be confidence in the company. And that's another method, like Chris said last week, about you know, using that hypothetical situation to take them from today to 6 months and see whether or not they are thinking that ahead, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. I think just adding on to what Rob's put there, the whole thing around the overcoming of the objection is from the consultation, from the discovery phase that you've done with the client to understand their wants and needs, and actually been able to then present that back to the customer, as we know. But once we've acknowledged the stall or objection, whatever we want to call it, we've related, we've isolated it. When we overcome, we actually overcome with the intelligence that we've already gathered. So as a prime example, a lot of people work against value versus investment. If you know that you're going to invest a couple of $1,000s into training and you know that the outcome could be tens of thousands of dollars, we know that once the value outweighs the investment, there's going to be a decision made more than likely to move forward with yourself, you know? So I think really understanding the intelligence that you've gathered, once you've, like I said, followed the first 3-step process to overcome the objection, and then we actually overcome that, that's where we need to build more value and then grab tie downs in from the customer. So does that sound more sensible? Is that making you feel a lot more comfortable now? Now that you've heard that, is that something you're happy to move forward with? And again, when we overcome an objection, let's not think that we overcome an objection and then we say, okay, and how do you want to pay? It's not the case of doing that. An objection could come 10 minutes into a 2-week sales cycle. So we're constantly overcoming objections. We just need to make sure we're proactively uncovering objections in the consultation through qualifying the customer, through discovering their needs. And if you're finding objections there, so let's just make sure we're understanding that this 4-step process is not used just to close a transaction. Yeah. This 4-step process can be used within the first, I wouldn't say the first 60 seconds, but within the first few minutes of a conversation. This tool can be utilized throughout the communication.
When talking about where we spoke about objections and not just transactional, when using a Rio, and you know, when we're implying these techniques can be used in general communication, don't forget that you can use it in any communication. You could use it when dealing with a staff member or in a board meeting. You know, I appreciate and understand where you're coming from. You know, relate to I can understand that what you're saying for this organization is X, Y, and Z. Other than the fact that you've got concerns around the budget, or other than the fact that you've got concerns about the rollout, or other than the fact that whatever, are you suggesting that, you know, you're happy with where this organization is going? And then actually saying, okay, well, based on that, what I would believe, and then actually overcoming the issues internally. You could use it, I could use it for coaching. Well, I do use it for coaching. If someone maybe is struggling to implement goal setting, or, you know, they've watched a webinar that they don't understand. You know, we've got a back catalogue of content that our academy guys will know about. And maybe they're like, oh, I don't really know where to go from here. I could use a Rio to appreciate, relate, and, you know, and isolate and overcome an internal challenge inside of that conversation. So there's not, like Chris said, it's not just the transactional element to use in this. You can use it in all day, everyday communication. And exactly like Chris said, using the ability to value add to try to really bridge the gap between where is the disconnection between what you're trying to convey somebody and the reason why they're not moving forwards, and how can we find that little happy medium to be able to to overcome that challenge. So hopefully that makes sense, guys. Again, a Y in the chat or a yes or something, just to say, like, understand on how to use that. Hi Grace, good to have you.
And I think with what Rob's just added on there, following from next week, obviously training Tuesdays, half an hour, 4:30 every single week. For the next 6 weeks, we're actually going to go through our 6-step process on how to build rapport, and we're going to break down each one over the course of a 6-week period. How to build rapport on a professional basis. So if we are looking for different ways of relating to objections, understanding the client's needs and going through all that kind of process, the next 6 weeks, we're going to tie up a personal, professional rapport building tool that you'll be able to utilize during objection handling as well. So I just thought that might be quite relevant. So from next week, we're going to be running a 6-week series on effective rapport building.
Yeah. And I think, like, I mean, our whole SWISH method, for those of you who don't know, you know, integrity and honesty-based sales, we've spoken about objections being smoke screens, and and people dealing with whether or not handling objections is right. Should we preempt them? A lot of people who are inside the academy, don't forget, on the 8th of May, you can watch Ryan, our director, talk about preempting objections and being able to almost overcome them before they become an issue. But the rapport-based relationship selling style, so that you have a real deep connection with somebody, is really important. And that's really what we're trying to convey here, is that you can be elegant in the way that you handle somebody's objection, because really all they're saying is, especially for warm leads or somebody who's reached out to you, or you've got a close personal relationship with someone, all they're saying to you is, I'm not quite there yet with your concept, or I'm not quite there yet with your idea. And again, as we've always spoken about, we believe genuinely, hand on heart, if you think that you can help someone, you're doing them a disservice if you just let them go at that first opportunity. Because as we've spoken about it, there are many times where people have come on board, or they've joined a service, or bought a product, or done something, or gone along with an idea that maybe initially that they weren't too sure of. And that real understanding of somebody's true desires, what they're after, all comes in that discovery phase. So as Chris highlighted, over the course of the next few weeks, we're going to really unpack that rapport building method. And a lot of people actually struggle, Chris, to build relationship. And a lot of people would argue that it comes naturally, when actually it is a learned skill. Just like anything, you can learn how to build relationship and build rapport with people. Anyone really find that common ground, and then be able to, to sort of build a relationship. That will also have a knock-on effect later if you are asking for the business, if that's what you're using this for, to feel more comfortable in doing so. Because another reason why people don't make sales is because they don't ask for business, which is actually what we've been talking about inside of the sales challenge we're running. Chris, you spoke about that in today's morning meeting as well.
Yeah, exactly. So as we've got sort of 8 minutes or so to go, just pop in any questions. I just want to kind of open it up to Facebook and the people that we've got inside Zoom as well. Just pop any questions into the chat, and me and Rob over the next few minutes will try and answer anything you've got. If you can make the questions around objection handling, that would be awesome.
Yeah, we've got a couple of comments on Facebook. Joseph, hey Joseph, just said, great technique for any relationship, customer, friend. I don't know, Steve, if you're calling me Mr. ISR. If you are, I'll take it. If not, then I wouldn't mind being calling that. But yeah, a lot of people agreeing with us that that's the case. There were a few other things that we had potentially that we were going to talk about, which we haven't got through to today. So hopefully we'll be able to cover that in other instances. Chris, can you see the chat?
I can do, yeah. Hey, yeah. Sam, how you doing? Nice to see you in here too.
Just figured it out for the purposes of those on Facebook. And we've got Zoom and Facebook going.
So I'm sure this is common. Have you had any success examples of overcoming this? Yeah, absolutely, Sam. I think looking at the COVID-19, we've been covering that over the last few weeks. It is a common stall because people are, we're in uncertain times. So people would, predominantly look at doing that. What I'd look to do is, there's a couple of ways I'd probably answer that, and I'm sure a lot of people are facing this. I wanted to run through like what we call a negotiation grid, but there's something in sales and business that's kind of like a lose-win situation. So over time, it's kind of like on the initial deal, you're losing as a business or as an individual, but not really, where you actually get the opportunity to work with the client with the long-term focus of actually winning. So what I'd look to do there, Sam, and anybody else that's dealing with the COVID, like as a business, we reduced our barrier of entry to assist companies through that time as well. So I'd be looking there, Sam, maybe if there's particular value adds that you could give to the client. I know that in the next couple of months, you're going to move forward with us. What I'd like to do is sort of strike while the iron's hot. Let's have the opportunity to work together now, because I know the great things we can achieve over the next 2 months, but I respect your situation. So one thing that I would like to do is, or one thing this company can put in place for you is, or what this product will do for you over the next 2 months is, and depending whether it's one of the three, I'd look to value add as much as you possibly can that obviously doesn't eat into your margins too much. But if there's things that you can do there, give a little gift or, give another session or a follow-up process, whatever the product and industry is, if you can add more value, that hopefully will shorten your sales cycle.
Also, don't forget guided discovery is so key in this. If someone's given you, and I don't know if you just want to, if other people want to put a yes or something to say they've had the COVID objection, but guided discovery, the art of self explanation is key. So if you can say, okay, look, aside from COVID, you know, why use our service? What is it about us that would make you use it in 2 months' time, in 3 months' time? Because if someone says, oh yeah, I want to do it, I'm just going to wait till this all blows over, then ask them, okay, great. Why do you want to do it in 3 months' time? What is it about what I have to offer gets you excited? That'll get them to then sell themselves on, you know, on why we've had it. We've had that before, you know, people, you know, I want to come on a boot camp in a year. Okay, fantastic. Just ignore the year bit. But why do you want to come on a boot camp? Because I really want to learn from Jack and from Ryan, or I really want to come and spend a weekend with you guys. Okay, cool. And then that gives you the platform to start talking about why they want to do it. If you said to somebody, okay, great, a couple of months' time, well, why do you want to come on board? And they go, oh, I don't know. Then they were never going to in 2 months' time. COVID is just an excuse to stall from actually giving you the reason to say they're not quite there yet. So
yeah.
perhaps...
what Rob might have done there for you, Mike, as well, indirectly actually answered your question. So if, for example, people are comparing you against a competitor or a comparison, ask the question of why they're shopping around. You know, ask the question of why they're looking to move to somebody else, or why they're looking for new quotes, or is price really what they're looking for? Are they looking for good, cheap, or fast? You know, we understand that people buy 3 different services, so they'll get something that's good, that's cheap, or that's fast. So have an idea of what the customer is looking for, and there'd be a reason that if I'm happy with my phone provider, I'm not shopping around. Do you know, like if there's a reason they're on the phone or having a, you know, face-to-face meeting with yourself, Mike, there's a reason they're looking to potentially compare you with a competitor. So I'd alienate that and I'd sell your point of difference of what's different to you and the reason that you're not a cheaper service.
And that's tied in really nicely, Chris, to a question we've had on Facebook from Sean. Sean's asked, the companies or individual directors will suggest they've got contracts in place, or businesses that have long-term rapport with X, Y, and Z. So this is going to come in nicely to the rapport building, because you've got to do something a little bit different. They're going to expect you to try to combat, like Chris said a few weeks ago, you know, trying to like butt heads, when actually what you want to do is firstly praise the fact that they already have the service that you're providing in place, and ask them what it is that they like about the individual that they're using, and just engage them in conversation. Okay, great. And how long have you worked with them? What did you like? Because bearing in mind that if your whole mantra around, or our mantra around sales should be identify whether there is a sale to be made. If there isn't, then learn as much information you can about the individual for your next sale. So it could be that you establish from those guys who have already got you know, a supplier in place. How did they decide? When did they decide? What was it about them that made them choose them? Learn as much intelligence as you can from those individuals, so that on your next call you can actually almost preempt that coming. Same thing around, you know, oh, well, I'm already used, like Chris said, if you already got a supplier, if that new supplier can show enough value, I'm not loyal to Dodo or Optus. I'm not loyal to them. If someone can come to me and show more value or beat the price or whatever we don't have time to go into pose theory today, but you know, what's your main motivator? If someone can show me enough value, I'll switch, I will, but only if I see enough value. The difficulty that you've got when you've got a current supplier is the sales defenses are going to be quite high, and your action threshold is going to be through the roof, because I've already got the thing that I want, and to change might be a bit of a pain. Maybe if you're, I don't know if you're in the academy, but you know, go and watch Ryan's webinar on the change curve. Understand why people resist change, and can you show them that actually changing won't be that bad. In fact, if someone said to me, I'll do this, this, and this for you, and it will be a seamless transition, I'm game to at least listen to the opportunity, but you've got to win me over a little bit quicker And then also just build rapport with me. I might not choose you now, but I might come back to you when it's chance to tender for that contract. So yeah, no worries, Sean. I'm glad that was.
So we're going to have to wrap this up now, Rob. We've got.
Let's go for another hour.
I know we need to extend these. Half an hours are a bit too quick. So just to kind of give you an idea of what's coming up, obviously over the next 6 weeks on Training Tuesday. Thanks, Grace. We'd love to, but unfortunately we can't. We are going to run through our 6-step process on rapport building. Just some dates to drop down. Myself and a gentleman by the name of Stuart Brown from a business called Launch Experts. He's a marketing specialist. Tomorrow night at 4:30 Queensland time, we're actually going to jump on for a 1-hour Q&A session on how to build more leads, so increase your marketing, and then with myself, help increase your sales. So marketing and sales are coming together tomorrow night, 4:30. I'll drop the link in the chat. Anything else from you, Rob?
I was just going to do that for you. So just to repeat that in case people missed it. So 4:30 Wednesday. I'm also going to pop it into Facebook so that people can have that link for your one there. And
yes, it will be, and that'll be fully recorded. Yeah.
And then for myself, yeah, Wednesday afternoon, I'm going to be doing a lunch and learn with.
Or Thursday, one of the two.
Sorry, Thursday afternoon, 12 o'clock. I'm going to be doing a lunch and learn at the Gold Coast Hub. I'm just going to pop that in there as well. I don't actually have the link to that. You're going to have to Google. You're gonna have to Google that. Unfortunately, I don't have the Eventbrite link wasn't working but it's basically Gold Coast Hub. I'm just gonna be doing a 30-minute presentation on about 5 minutes about myself, and then 20 minutes is just going to be on our negotiation ladder, and the last 10 minutes is Q&A. And then I'm also doing an Instagram thing with Broden Johnson of Yak Media. I don't know, Broden, if you're watching, but that's on Friday at 4 o'clock as well. So plenty coming up. But like Chris said, next week we're going to be starting an overview of rapport building and then do a 6-week series. For those of you who are in the academy, Friday the 8th at 9 o'clock, Ryan is going to be doing his preemptive objection handling. So if you guys are in the academy, feel free to watch that. If not, next Tuesday, 4:30 at the same time, me and Chris will be here to answer your questions, have a bit of a yarn around sales, and hopefully add some value.
So many times and dates, and just to confuse matters even more, this Friday at 3 p.m, Ryan Tuckwood, the CEO of ISR Training, is doing a podcast with our board member, Mr. Andrew Banks from Shark Tank. So Friday at 3 o'clock. If you wish to hear more of Ryan and Mr. Andrew Banks talking about business and maybe things around COVID, Sam, if you want to jump onto that, they're going to be discussing things that businesses can do to pivot during this time as well.
Awesome, the man himself, and Andrew Banks is an absolute legend. He's so nice, and so is Ryan. All right, guys, thank you so much for
to everyone
for your time. Yeah, Chris, mate, it's an absolute pleasure. I'm looking forward to when we're going to be sat side by side.
I'm so jealous you're in the office.
Yeah. No, it's pretty good, but I'm hoping that it's not going to be wet for my cycle home. Thank you everybody for your time today, and really looking forward to catching you next week. Facebook, thanks for joining us, and I look forward to catching up with you guys next week.
Enjoy your evening, everybody. Stay safe.
Take care.
Thank you.